Hi everyone, this is Module 0, Day 2, and we're going to talk about solving some simple equations. We're going to do two-step maths, and we're going to really focus on, the why you do the steps that you do when you're solving an equation. So first of all, this is the number one most important thing you want to remember whenever you're solving an equation in math. You are allowed to do anything you want. You can add, you can subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, you can square root. You can do anything you want to an equation as long as you do the same thing to both sides. It's very, very, very important that you remember to always do the same thing to both sides of the equation. If you only do something to one side, then the two sides are not equal anymore, and whatever answer you get is going to be wrong. But if you have an equation, two things that are equal, as long as you do the same thing to both of those things, they'll still be equal. So once you realize that, the key is going to be using inverses to cancel things out. Now we're going to focus on two sets of inverses today because we're keeping it simple for now. But I'm going to say adding and subtracting cancel each other out. If I take some number and I add 5 and then subtract 5, I didn't do anything. Those two things cancel each other out. So do multiplying and dividing. If I take some number and I multiply it by 10 and then divide it by 10, I didn't do anything because those cancel each other out. Now there obviously are a lot more inverses than just those two, but we're going to focus on those two for today and keep it nice and simple. Now your goal is to do what's called isolate the variable. And to isolate something means to get it all by itself. So if you have an x and it's all mixed in with some other numbers, 5x minus 10, if you isolate that x, if you get rid of the 5 and you get rid of the 10 so the x is all by itself, you solve the equation. Because it's going to end up saying x equals some number, and that's the answer to the question. So we want to isolate our variable by canceling things out using inverses, and the number one most important thing to remember, whatever we do, we're going to do the same thing to both sides of the equation. So let's work out this example right here first. We have 3x minus 7 equals 8. And right off the bat, the first thing I do is I look for the variable. So I see my x right here, and I say, I want to isolate that. I want to get that all by itself. And the easiest way to do that would be to get rid of the things around it. We want to get rid of the 3, and I want to get rid of the minus 7. So let's get rid of the minus 7 first. And since minus 7 is subtraction, we're going to get rid of it by doing the opposite. We're going to get rid of it by adding 7. Remember, I'm allowed to do that. I can do whatever I want as long as I do the same thing to both sides. So what I'm going to do is add 7 to both sides of this equation. So on either side of the equal sign, I'm going to put a plus 7. I'm going to line my plus 7 up here and here, and I'm going to add it up. Now, a negative 7 and a plus 7 cancel each other out. That's the whole reason we did that. Now, after those are gone, all that's left on the left-hand side is the 3x. We'll leave the equal sign in the middle, and on the right-hand side, we have an addition problem, 8 plus 7. So just add it up. 8 plus 7 is 15. So one more step. Remember, our goal is to isolate the x. So I'm looking at this x right here, and I want to get it by itself. This time I need to cancel out that 3. Now I'm not going to subtract 3. It's not x plus 3. It's 3x. And 3x means 3 times x. So to cancel out multiplying, use dividing. So when you have something like this, 3x, and you want to cancel out the 3, you divide that, or you do that by dividing by 3. And then remember, anything you do, you have to do to both sides of the equation. So I'm going to divide both numbers by 3. Here, the 3's cancel out and just leave x. On the other side of the equal sign, we do a division problem. And we use fractions to show dividing. 15 over 3 means 15 divided by 3. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. So what you notice is we isolated x. We got rid of the minus 7 first. We got rid of the 3 second. And we have the x by itself. And I said, once you get the x by itself, you got the answer to the question. So your answer is x equals 5. That's a two-step equation. The first step was adding, the second one was dividing, and that's what we're going to focus on today. These are simple, easy equations for you to solve, but I want you to really focus on the steps, being very careful. Always do the same thing to both sides. Don't subtract to cancel out a negative. It has to be the opposite, things like that. Just be very careful with the steps and really try to understand what you're doing. Don't rush through these. Let's do one more example together. This time we will solve for a. I changed the variable, but that doesn't change what you do. I can call it x or a or b or p or q, it doesn't matter. So we have 12 equals 2 minus 5a. The other thing I did is I put the variable on the other side of the equal sign, but again, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. The goal is the same. The goal is to isolate that a right there, which means I want to get rid of the numbers around it, the 12 and the 2 and the negative 5. So let's get rid of that 2 first. I look at that 2 and I see a positive 2, and the way you cancel out a positive 2 is with a negative 2, subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides of the equal sign, because right here 2 minus 2 is 0, which cancels. Over here 12 minus 2 is 10. And after the 2 and the negative 2 are gone, it leaves negative 5a. It is negative. Remember that minus sign in front of the 5 has to stay there. So don't drop a negative throughout your problem. Okay, one more step. We'll finish it out by dividing by negative 5. So again, I'm looking here. I'm saying I want to isolate that a by itself, which means I need to get rid of the negative 5 in front of it. When you have negative 5a, it means negative 5 times a, and the way you get rid of a times is with dividing. So I'm going to divide by negative 5. Negative 5 cancels and leaves just a there. Now on the other side of the equal sign, and this is going to end up being our answer, we have 10 divided by negative 5. So remember our day 1 lesson on integers. Do the number part first. 10 divided by 5 is 2, but positive divided by negative is always negative. And that's the answer to the question. Even though it's written backwards, it says negative 2 equals a. That's the same as saying a equals negative 2. And there's our final answer. So that's what we're doing today. Simple, easy, two-step equations where the goal is to really understand each step, to go slowly and carefully and really understand the steps that you're using when you solve equations.